Let's give Taylor an awful week.
And this season, she's just totally been a Karen. That's literally the only thing she's brought to this season. What is her game plan to win the season? What is her game other than following Dee and Devens? I'll wait. Good morning. Back to talk about this season of shit. Big Brother 28. You know, it really is a season of shit. Because it is built on three pillars of suck so far this season, in my opinion. One of the pillar is the obvious rigging to keep the three cons safe so far. The second pillar is the terrible gameplay, or more so the complete lack thereof. And then the third is this prejudice that has been building up more and more among this cast with the minorities, specifically Lala and Taylor, though, and giving us one of our first races season in years, unfortunately. Now we have Survivor tied to this season. I mean, I know CBS doesn't care because of their new ownership, but right now Survivor being tied to this season is not going to end well. I know Jeff Probst is currently thinking of 77 different twists to add to Survivor at once to try and distract from that fact. But anyway, let's talk about the game yesterday. Yesterday started with Dee planning out the future of the game for herself, how she would love to put up Drew, how she would love to renom Mallory if Yash wins veto, because at that point Yash was still a target. But Dee also was thinking about how to break up the Boer 4 and then pull in Barrett. But yeah, her sights were set on Drew from the minute she woke up. Dee ended up bribing Yash again for vet safety. This is for his next HOH. Yash did agree this time. I don't know. I don't think that's good for his game, but what are you going to do? At this point, I don't blame Yash for taking the damn power, the bribe, because he hasn't actually been able to play the game against the vets without being punished this season, because that's how production set up this entire season. If you play against the vets, you're going to get punished. You're probably going to be out or be at the bottom. And that is what happened to Yash for daring to play the game last week. So I don't blame Yash for taking it. But not only does he have to keep Dee safe, he has to keep Dee, Devens, Angela all safe, which is a crazy bribe. So next time he wins HOH, he can't put any three up. I don't know how that works when it gets later in the game and he has to make renoms and there's only so many people. I don't think Big Brother thought that far, though. This season has been thrown together. The only thing that matters is how can the vets get further, clearly. What annoyed me most about Dee during this is that this is a Survivor winner and her thought process is stupid. So her thought process coming into using the bribe is that she didn't want it wasted. Fine. That's how she should think. She doesn't want to waste her power. So she got the bribe out of Yash, but she's still been contemplating off and on for the past 24 hours putting Yash on the block. Because why though? Like, you just made that deal. You're literally safe with Yash because that's what the bribe means. Why put up Yash and risk him going home then? Because if you're just going to put up Yash anyway, using the bribe on Yash makes no sense. But I mean, most of the gameplay this season doesn't make sense, which is why I crack up when people in the comments are like, stick to the game, bitch. What game? What game? Most of these people aren't even playing, and the ones that are failing upward with terrible gameplay because it's a rigged season. But Yash had a really good talk with Dee when I think, and Devens and Angela, when the feeds were being cut from when Yash and Dee were talking about the BB Bribe and he was accepting the bribe. I do think Dee sees Yash as a gamer. I think he made a lot of headway. I think he also helped give Dee even more doubts about Drew. Meanwhile, Taylor and Lala were discussing not cooking all week and that they have the perfect excuse because they are have-nots, which we might as well start our first Karen watch of the day. We had Angela, D, Devens, the cons, the three cons, agreeing that they don't want Taylor to win the season, talking about how anyone that sits next to Taylor wins because she just sleeps in bed all day. This is coming after all season long. Angela has been comparing her to past winners Chelsea and Ashley, though. So how does that work exactly? She's playing like two past winners, but she doesn't deserve to win this game. Well, it works like that because this is more racist bullshit spewed from the fucking egg-shaped Karen. Devens feeling this about Taylor as well and not Melody will make Devens added to my postseason list. He and his dumb wife Becca will be added to my postseason list because Devens has been making these comments now about how, he can't believe Taylor is a elementary school teacher when she acts like a kid herself. Devens has been the one for the past week acting like a child throwing tantrums after he did his move. He was so worried after his move. He was threatening Drew and Barrett, and he could get away with threatening Drew and Barrett because they're two of the biggest bitches to ever be in the Big Brother house. But also, this conversation between the three cons further points out how Devens, D, Angela, and of course Drew, probably the person in the house with the most prejudice. Well, I don't know. Angela's neck and neck, honestly, and she has a big neck, so it's probably Angela. But they've been trying to paint Taylor as lazy for the past week. She's always in bed, completely ignoring the fact that she's one of the only people that's constantly cooking and cleaning in the house while they do nothing but lounge all day. The double standard is alive and well. Anyway, Taylor let Melody know that Drew and Barrett were going to vote Mallory and Melody out. They've been playing in their faces. I don't even know why Taylor tried to warn these two losers. Melody and Mallory are big losers. They're actually meant to be with Drew and Barrett. They have been acting very dumb again. It's like a hierarchy of dumb. And it's the way production cast this season. They cast players that were not going to play the game. Because we have Drew and Barrett who have this undying loyalty to the three cons. And then below them we have Melody and Mallory who have undying loyalty to Drew and Barrett. Even though they're constantly finding out how Drew and Barrett have been playing in their faces all season. But Dee wanted to break up the Boar Four. And she had her meeting with the Armpit Alliance to discuss Yash's HOH and all that was said because Drew and Kamu were up in that room a lot that first night that Yash was HOH. And then Dee had Yash brought up to basically see who was lying between Drew and Yash. Yash said that Drew and Kamu were giving him lots of info about things that made him put Dee up. And that both Drew and Kamu said things about having distrust in Dee. Dee wants to know if Drew is okay with her being on the block that week. Drew was trying to blame Kamu for everything. Really, in this conversation, Dee was looking for a problem with Drew, any reason to put Drew up. But it was also bad that Drew could only try and put everything on Kamu, who was no longer there. But before Yash was brought into the room, Drew was going on and on about how Yash was pushing for Angela to go last week. And then when Yash came up in the room, Drew was saying Yash was not doing that. So Angela called it out. And Drew looked like a big fat liar. Angela was pressing Drew. And Drew was saying that Yash did want Angela to go home. But Yash was saying that was after the fact, after Kamu was put on the block by the Diamond Power veto. Melody and Mallory said, because they were a part of this conversation too, that before Kamu was put up on the block, they only heard that Haley was a target. Really, all this came down to is that Drew has been so obsessed about Taylor and Lala these past 2 weeks and what they're doing or not doing, and how Taylor is Danielle Reyes and Chelsea but also doesn't deserve to win the game, that he hasn't seen how his own alliance has been dragging him all season. Although he has. He's been going around for weeks saying, I know you don't trust me. I know you don't trust me, but I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to prove myself. Oh my God. Drew is infuriating to me. Like, I cannot wait for him to get out of this house and get the shit that he does deserve, and he will get what he deserves. I'm telling you, the shit is building on social media, and Drew is the one driving the force in this Prejudice, along with Angela, driving the force with the Prejudice this season. Drew went to Devens and D after the meeting saying he knows he screwed up. Drew was saying, I just felt weird in the room. It was almost like bullying. He didn't want to bully Yash. D said that was not bullying, and Drew then agreed, of course. Of course, D was able to go to her bitch boy Barrett and his grody areolas to agree to vote out Drew. Seriously, I'm sick of seeing him without a shirt on. Barrett has the ugliest looking nipples you'll ever see. So Barrett and D discussed if D should in fact nominate Drew. Would she lose Mallory and Melody? But of course, Barrett says, you're not going to lose me no matter what. And D will probably never lose Barrett no matter what. That is true. He will always be the big doormat for D. A lot of it came back to that Lala HOH meeting about going after the icons. That became a big deal later on. But D had her other one-on-ones with like Lala, who was calling Drew a big old snake, and that Melody said that she has Drew and Drew is good, and that Melody and Mallory do follow what Drew says, which is true. Lala was not wrong. I thought Lala actually had a good conversation with D, probably her first good game conversation that wasn't with Taylor or Kamu or Yash this entire season. So that was something, I guess. I don't think Taylor's maybe went as well, but I also feel like Taylor was able to show us all that D is all talk, all this talk behind Taylor's back. And then when trying to confront Taylor with information, I thought Taylor out-confronted her with facts, while as D just had lies. Thanks to America's vote, Drew did in fact get a power, though he just got the never not pass at least. So I was still mostly right about early on when I said only survivors and someone helping them would get the powers. I didn't think that Drew would get the worst power, but it is deserved. Also, though, like, come on. Production did zero to hide the fact that only Devens and D, the two survivors, got the real powers this season. I mean, if you still don't think there's been some big old rigging to keep the survivors safe, I would love to sell you a bridge where trolls that look like Barrett live under. D even went to Melody and Mallory to throw Drew completely under the bus about how Drew is okay with Mallory going up during Kamu's HOH, and tells Melody that Drew thinks Melody will do whatever he says. Melody says she's not like that as a person, but she 100% is like that as a person, and she should be embarrassed. Melody told D that Drew was trying to blame things on her and Mallory to Yash this week. Again, I'll just say that Drewlity stans are fucking weirdos. All that talk about buzz from that fan base, they must have been buzzed on something, because I've never gotten it. Drew and Melody are just two weak dummies, and one has dragged the other this whole game. That was Drew dragging Melody's slow ass under every bus through mud. Anyway, Drew was one of the nominations. It was Drew, Taylor, and Lala. Apparently at the nomination ceremony, Drew did what I expected. Try and still show loyalty to the vets and still attack Lala and Taylor, throwing Lala under the bus for her stupid let's get the icons out meeting that included Drew and Barrett. And according to Taylor, Drew was doing a lot of lying on her, because Taylor was taking a shower during the time that Drew and Barrett were in that HOH meeting. And apparently Barrett did say that Taylor was in the shower. So if Drew was lying about something, he's going to look like a liar if Barrett's confirming that Taylor was in the shower, but I don't really think the rest of this Prejudice cast cares. So we had D and Drew celebrating in the HOH room after she just nominated him. And it's like, look, if you don't think Drew is pathetic and you're older than 20 years old, you need help. You need to seek help. The Boar 4, I guess, also sort of defended Drew, which upset Lala. Lala told D and Angela she only was ever targeting Devens. The Boar 4 said otherwise. Lala was mainly targeting Devens, but she did include D in those talks. Lala was never going after Angela, which is why the way Angela treats Lala is dumb as fuck. No one will ever convince me that Angela's actually on this season trying to win, because where is the evidence? Where is her game? It is nowhere to be found. She just seems like another tag along for the survivors. The lost causes Melody and Mallory still think Drew has their best interests and want to tell him what Dee told them. Drew was still making his comments against Taylor, who he just hates, that he says he doesn't like Taylor. It'd be real funny for her to not be in jury because she just wants to be in jury really bad. I'll say this, because I think Drew helped himself with his alliance by calling out Taylor and Lala, because these survivors and Angela like a show, I guess, even if it makes no logical sense. But the way Dee has twisted her game into pretzels today or yesterday doesn't make any sense either. Like, the gameplay is incoherent. It is, quite frankly, literally incoherent. But I think where Drew could go wrong is just staying up with the Bore 4 all the time this week, because Dee and Devens are going to get paranoid about that, and then the target might turn back. But I think Taylor likely goes home on Thursday if she's on the block. If Taylor's on the block on Thursday, I think Taylor's going home. Angela's already pushing hard against Taylor. Sometimes Haley does try to stick up for Taylor, but I think Haley still does join in from time to time. I think she feels uncomfortable about it, but this cast, nobody speaks up. It's just a bunch of sheep. Angela is calling Taylor a winner after earlier having a conversation that she is in bed all day and should not win. Again, Angela talking out of both sides of her mouth because she doesn't see Taylor as a person, because she is an egg-shaped Karen. One thing I did like in Taylor's pitch to Dee was that she would be a jury vote for Dee, and I think that was a good person to pitch that to, but I don't know if it was enough to save her this week, because we know Dee also has extreme disdain for Taylor over Taylor cooking Kamu a hamburger. Melody confronted Drew for the 100th time. Don't say this, don't say that, don't say that I follow you about everything, even though she does. I don't know, Melody just seems dumb here to me. I don't think she's ever going to change. She's a lost cause. She's also on my list. This whole cast sucks. This cast sucks. And I'm only continuing to cover this because I do like being petty and I do like dragging people. So let's get to our second and last Karen watch of the day. Yes, we have more to cover. Yash and Taylor have noticed that Drew is trying to be a prick, and he is. And I do think you all that voted him a power have given him the idea that he needs to double down on this weird prejudice, hatred for Taylor and Lala. I would also say that Drew is acting like someone who does not want jury votes, but let's be honest, he has not been playing to win from jump. He has been playing to be the biggest vet bitch and for the vets to get further, and that is in spite of the vets constantly throwing him under the bus. But Drew made a hide-and-go veto comment that if they have the hide-and-go veto, he hopes that Taylor and Lala are still there to clean the house.
If it is, I hope Taylor and Lala are still here so they can clean the house.
And this is now, again, these are the comments he's been making for days. It's always something about Taylor and Lala cooking and cleaning. And it's not just racist. It is racist. But it is also so misogynist. This is the only way Drew sees these two women. Angela made her weird Karen comment about let's give Taylor a miserable week.
Let's give Taylor an awful week.
Angela has been awful. I don't know how she still has fans. I don't know why she ever really had that big of fans. I understand that her first few weeks of her Big Brother season were entertaining, and then she slowly, went down the hill like the big snowball that she is and became the egg-shaped Karen. And then this season, she's just totally been a Karen. That's literally the only thing she's brought to this season. As I said earlier, what is her game plan to win the season? What is her game other than following Dee and Devens? I'll wait. Let me know in the comments. She doesn't have one. Like, she doesn't even care about her two people outside of her big alliances that would help her, Mallory and Lala. Whatever. Taylor hit Drew's brush to really drive him crazy last night, and I do hope it continues to drive him crazy so he could really show who he is as a person. He's been showing it more and more this week, and it's a disgusting sight. And for anyone who's going to use the argument, oh my God, this is a terrible thing that Taylor is doing. First of all, this prank is not even close to the same level that several people on this cast joined in to make the house dirtier and leave dirty towels for Lala to clean. But the bad part about Taylor doing this is the show will probably give her a bad edit and white America will act like it's the bigger sin. Meanwhile, these white folks in middle America, in small towns especially, should be worried about their kids and grandkids out doing meth or God knows what. I will say, though, at least Taylor can still have fun with herself and be unbothered, even though right now she and Lala are the ones getting piled on. One last thing. You know that production cast purposely awful this season because Taylor and Yash were alternates. They were not even originally supposed to be on the cast, and yet they have been two of very few players who have actively tried to play and have their own mind this season. Again, point to production for how awful this season is. One of the worst, and now we totally have Big Brother 21 vibes in the house. We'll see if production has a talking to the three cons, and if their words about Taylor magically shift, because it was getting pretty bad last night.